Welcome, welcome to our talk with Eliah today. And we will talk a bit about her engagement and how it is to be left in different places. Welcome. Thank you, Eliah, for coming, for joining us today. And to have a hard but also start to get to know you, can you just say shortly one or two things about you? Who are you and what is your activism?
So it's a cool room to be in, and thank you guys for having me. My name is Eliah Levin. I'm 26 years old from Haifa. I moved to Israel with my family when I was 12 from New York. And my dad is Israeli and my mom is American. And I was always active in different ways and always an angry woman. But I became active with Standing Together after October 7th when I was looking for a political home, specifically when I started my degree on campus. I'm studying in Haifa University, philosophy, economics, and politics. And I'm here with the person who brought me into this cult, who ruined my life and also gave me so much meaning and love and support, Adam Akkad, legendary. And so it's cool to have you here too. And I wouldn't be here without you, like Anjad.
Wow.
So, yeah.
How did it happen? Did you meet him before or did you search for a place and then heard about Standing Together? How did it happen?
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but
Yes.
I remember going around, I realized that the student union on campus is super corrupt and super racist, goes together. And I was kind of running around campus being like, I'm going to run for student union. I didn't know anything about it, and I didn't even know fully the entire story. And then that's how I met Adam. I was just like going around telling people that, yeah, we should do something. And he's like, no, we're doing something already. Like we're working on it. Like, come join. And that's how I joined. Pretty much.
So you have been somehow political, or you became political after 7th of October, or you were before and then just searched for a place to let out your energy?
I've always been a leftist in Israel ever since I arrived there. I think just growing up in a place that was very multicultural and full of immigrants from around the world, in Queens, New York, it really impacted me without necessarily having the words to say whether I'm a leftist or not. Even though in Israel, kind of, it's quite easy to divide left and right around how tolerant you are of other cultures. So I was always like the leftist in the class, kind of trying to give it that perspective. But I wasn't like politically organized through any kind of organization or movement until I joined Standing Together.
And why do you keep working with Standing Together? Why do you, I don't know, feel at home or found people you like there? And why do you keep working with them?
So I'll give like a little background for anyone who doesn't know, but Standing Together is a Jewish-Palestinian grassroots movement active within the state of Israel, working to create a more equal society and a just peace, and that happens in many different aspects. But I think that I joined Standing Together because they reached out, and I think that's what it sounds kind of obvious, but that is really one thing that isn't obvious, is like having a movement that is interested in growing and gaining power and reaching people who want their voices to be heard, and that trains or community organizers like Adam to do that, to see people who are angry and tired of the situation and to reach out and say, Yara, come join, like there's a place here. But also I think that we're we've been doing really important work throughout the war, protesting for a hostage deal and protesting against the genocide in Gaza and the starvation, and now our work has shifted into other places. But I think it's really a strong and it's a movement that strategically is moving towards a direction that I think is the best use of my time and energy and emotions. Yeah.
How, I mean, I know you can't speak for everyone, but what do you feel, how is standing together perceived in the Israeli society?
I mean, in general, the left is it depends what you consider left in Israeli society, but I would say the left is very persecuted by the current government and delegitimized and seen as traitors. So we are definitely part of the traitors, and we also receive criticism to the left of us. I mean, not that I see this as like a linear spectrum, but we see criticism also from our friends on the left that wonder whether our tactics are the right tactics, whether the language that we use is the right language, and many times have very valid criticism. And I think that one moment that kind of defined like how we are seen is during like the height of the annihilation of Gaza and the war this summer. We started to do several different non-violent direct actions, and one of them was to bombard the stage of Big Brother, like on live broadcast. And we like got into the stage. Adam was also there with shirts that said "Leave Gaza." We knew we had to have like just 2 words that would sum up our entire message. And people so much further to the right were echoing our message after we had said it. And it was kind of like this, the vibe was like, they're doing something radical that I would never do, but I think that the situation is that extreme that it requires these kinds of radical actions. And these are people that were like at the center, at the right, people that were very far away from us politically. And I think that, in a way, is also like ideal in how I want to be perceived by the Israeli public. I want to be perceived as people who are taking a step towards a direction that that the general public sees as okay, that the current situation is not good for everyone. Standing together, maybe that is far away from me. Maybe they're bringing a solution that's not something that I would bring, but they're definitely highlighting the fact that the situation right now is bad for everyone. And I think that we are seen that way by a big part of the Israeli public.
So they don't necessarily want to join, but some of them are happy that you talk about stuff that they otherwise wouldn't be able to talk about themselves, or don't come up with it, or stuff like this.
That's definitely like the perception on the left, I would say, like maybe of the Zionist left in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did something change for you because you were seen on the stage and you were like seen a bit more publicly with your activism and your engagement? And did anything change for you in your personal relationships, or I don't know, on campus, friends, family?
I now have the best friend group I could ever wish for, and it is like the blessing of my life to have people that are both super fun and cool and also anti-fascist and fight with me against the occupation and against everything that's going on in Israel. And I imagine that this place is the kind of place that also holds community in that kind of way. And it definitely is like a moment where people, I mean, now I feel like my friendships are many times around this topic. So some of my friends that aren't political at all, when they see me and when they meet me, it makes them like triggered, or it makes them kind of rethink their own political involvement. And so it did bring into the conversation this like kind of very big, heavy subject of like, what are you going to do about it? Right? Like, I'm doing something about it. What are you going to do about it? Even when I don't say that, it brings that
You
into...
ask them or you don't?
No, I don't. No.
So you still get along with people?
My boyfriend is not politically involved at all. And
that works.
And it works, yeah. So, I mean, we share common values and beliefs, but he's not politically involved, yeah.
This also, at least from what I read so far, is also a concept of standing together, that you are cooperating and working with people sharing some values, but not necessarily all of them. This is not always easy for left groups everywhere.
Yeah.
How do you manage to find your core values and still work with other groups? And which groups don't want to work with you, although they might have similar goals?
So definitely, I think what makes our movement unique is the way that we strategize and really believe that we need to work in order to win. And to win this battle that we are fighting, it requires moral and kind of many different kinds of compromises. Well, I wouldn't say moral compromises. It requires other kinds of compromises. Now we're seeing, I mean, we're all on the internet, right? And we're all like on social media, and we're seeing a lot of like policing of the conversation. If you are not saying this word, if you are not speaking up for this cause, then actually you're not even part of our team. And like a way of kind of taking people out. And our entire philosophy is we need to bring people in. And I think it comes from a place of desperation in many ways. Like, the situation is dire in Israel-Palestine. And if we don't see it in that way, and if we don't see our potential partners as ways to grow and gain power and to eventually end this suffering and bloodshed, then what are we doing? I mean, really, I see my life in the past 3 years, how much time and effort I have put into trying to change the situation. And I would never put that time and effort into trying to say the right things and, show up at the right times. The only way that it's worth it is if that time and that energy is put to a place of actual change. And that requires us to be able to talk to people that sometimes it's super difficult to talk to, and to build that new majority that we want to see.
You write about, or I can read about, that you think that there is a majority who is right now suffering from the political situation or from the polarization. Right now, from the outside, it's hard to see because you can see what people are voting for. What makes you so sure that you will find a majority for like sharing your core values?
I mean, even people who are voting for the Likud party, for the party in power, they are voting from them out of a place of fear and suffering. So even they are, like what makes you vote for a party that is willing to, make every aspect of your life deteriorate beside and claim to strengthen the security of Israel is only fear, right? I mean, what else could make you rationally make that decision? And so I think that if I see that they are also part of this majority of people who are suffering from an ongoing war, even if we talk right now about the poverty rate in Israel, the cost of living, and if we see how much money we are pouring into the settlements in the West Bank and pouring into military presence there, then it just that is also an aspect of suffering. So it's a lot about, I mean, the world tries to paint a picture sometimes that like Israelis are, you know, these like strong and can't harm them, and the Palestinians are weak and suffering. And this power dynamic is true, right? There is a big power gap. But the reality of war is that everyone suffers from it. And suffering looks like in different ways. But that's one of the reasons why I think many times we try to bring awareness to the situation through empathy for the other side. You know, I've done this myself. I've held pictures of Palestinian children who were bombed. But it's sometimes not even about empathy, right? It's about showing people how they are suffering themselves, and not to have empathy for someone else who is suffering. And I ran to the bomb shelter enough times in the past 2 years to know that this sucks, and it must change for everyone. And it's, yeah.
You mentioned it now.
I'm getting a bit roasted.
Yeah, right now the fire is heating up here.
Yeah, but I think
working.
I'm going to
Let me hold this for a second, and I will ask a longer question. Ja.
Sehr warm.
Sehr warm. Not kalt anymore. This one?
Ja, genau.
Jetzt hängt aber die Jacke da. So?
קר לכם?
Okay.
כן, לא, אני כאילו...
Ist denn euch auch ein bisschen wärmer geworden? It's a little bit warmer now? Okay. So you mention it right now because so far we just like scratched on the surface a bit, and of course you in Israel-Palestine have a super
don't want it there.
it ruins
sorry.
It ruins your background.
No, that's the most important. Yeah, okay, sorry.
You have a special topic, of course, in Israel-Palestine that only you have, but you still share the problems of the global leftist people, like housing, like everyday life, cost of living, stuff like this.
Yeah.
Does it take part in your actions, or is it a topic that you talk about a lot, or is everything overshadowed by the war and conflict you have?
So definitely one of the impacts of living in constant conflict is that many issues get pushed to the side. Education, welfare, any topic surrounding women always get pushed to the side when there is war in the background. And that is something that sometimes we as leftists fall into as well. It's like there's always a bigger thing to talk about. And sometimes we feel uncomfortable even talking, what am I going to talk about? Rent prices? There's a genocide going on, right? So we have this like self-gaslighting when we talk about our problems, our material problems, especially when you feel like you are in a place of, like you are in more comfortable than other people, then you feel like you can't talk about your problems. And we have to, as activists, like check ourselves and make sure we don't fall into the place that is the exact place that our fascist government wants us to fall into, right? It wants us to say there are big problems, we need to talk about the big problems, and you know, education can wait, right? And higher living wage can wait. So we definitely, a lot of times we catch ourselves falling there, and we have to bring ourselves back. And I just told you a story, which is kind of like a funny story, but we had our meeting of like the leadership of the student chapter on campus, and we're right now really involved in the campaign against the neglect of the government in the situation of organized crime in Arab communities. And so we're talking a lot about that. And two people in the leadership said, we need to do something about the Wi-Fi in the library. And I was like, yeah, like, how can we even talk about the Wi-Fi in the library? Like, I don't even feel comfortable doing a public campaign about the Wi-Fi situation in the library, which it sucks, right? So, but then we said, you know what? This is something that students need. We're in exam period right now. And, we're pushing students into cafes where a cappuccino costs 20 shekels instead of them being able to study in the library. And we went into this campaign, we won, okay? That is like the end of the story. Every single student in the University of Haifa got an email saying, we checked the infrastructure, we realized that there were problems, and we're going to improve the Wi-Fi situation within 2 weeks. And it's a really good example that kind of brings me back to that place of like, we cannot forget everyday people and their everyday needs. And it's not only that we can't forget it, it's like that in many ways is the way to bring people out and to make them politically active, especially in a place that is so politically oppressed. We are now seeing an incredible Palestinian uprising within the state of Israel surrounding the crime situation. I'll just explain in one sentence. Like, there is a growing rate of homicides due to organized crime within Arab communities. So Palestinians that are both the victims and the perpetrators, and the government and the police do nothing about it, and most of these cases are left unsolved. And we're seeing hundreds of thousands of people go out into the streets, and there's protests every day, and there's calls for strikes, and there's an economic strike, and there's many different things going on now, because people are scared to leave their house. Not because, we couldn't have brought these people out to the streets around an Israeli-Palestinian solution. We couldn't. And they went out to the streets because of their everyday, real fears and needs. And we can't forget that as leftists, and especially coming from Israel.
A lot of times I see that you have, or that you as an organization approach like really pragmatically, that you always write, for example, in the long term, you have to solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, not because it's morally the right thing to do, but you always write also because it's the only way that everyone is safe. So what you do always is like appeal to the people, what they will get, everyone, what they will get if they follow you, or if they join you, or if they work with you. And that's really practical and not super common. Sometimes, especially leftists, argumenting more with the moral. And you said you had it behind yourself, but still there are some leftist groups that join this maybe same goals, but in such a different approach that they don't get along with you as an organization, not with you personally. So you told me, like, for example, BDS, who is also a grassroots organizational concept. I hope that's right. And what's happening with them?
And I think after this we'll open up to questions, right? You want to?
I would like to.
Yeah, okay.
If you are fine with it, let me just see if I have one more question.
That people start to prepare the questions.
Be prepared.
No, so I think I will say in general, that threw me to a couple of different places. But in general, boycott, I think, is an important tool, and I think that people around the world should use their money and their power to places where they believe are doing good, and they shouldn't to places that they think are not doing good. And that is one thing we can do as consumers, or as in the world. I think that there's a problem with boycott because it's kind of like you boycott and you leave, right? Like I won't buy from this brand, and then you retreat. When a lot of times our power is in our threat, is in our ability to, like Claudia, she said, Ozgul, we need to start, because she said she's gonna stay. She wasn't gonna leave. She wanted to stay, right? So the same when we talk about a boycott. I think when you say I am invested in this place and I care about this place, or I care about the Palestinian people, and I'm not going, I will leave if you don't meet my demands, but you don't leave, and you follow up, and you stay consistent, and you stay involved. I think that is a much more effective boycott. And when I call for, like, as a university student, when I call for an academic boycott, I call for that. I call for people to be involved and to be knowledgeable, and to say you cannot continue to, occupy and oppress and carpet bomb Gaza, and for us to stay involved. I want them to threaten us, and I want them to stay invested in this place, because I think that in many ways boycotts or countries, cutting ties with Israel is exactly what this government wants. It wants as least involvement and the least amount of people that they need to account to. That they need to answer to. They want the least amount of people and the least amount of countries to look at and see what is going on in Israel-Palestine, so that they can continue. And that is my fear, right? My fear is isolation from the world, and for us to continue doing what we are doing to the Palestinian people. I think that is the worst case scenario. In many ways, I think a boycott can go into that direction. So that's like my take in general. And BDS is called to boycott, standing together. So I think it's also something that has personally affected us, especially the Palestinian activists. It is already super difficult to be a Palestinian activist in Israel. You are automatically seen not as a traitor, but as a enemy, terror supporter. And it's also a population that has inner fears within it surrounding political involvement and activism after years of military occupation. And so to take these people that have decided with their own voice and their own time to be involved in standing together and to call to boycott them, I think that is it's very dangerous towards Palestinians, the same people that they want to support. And at the end of the day, I think it's not very strategic also. I don't know if I answered all of the question, but...
Yes, it was a really open question. Do you have any right now? Anything? You want something? You want to add something?
I add something about BDS. And what Eliah said was very well spoken. I think also it's a part of the BDS. It's the same for Palestinian and Israeli cannot be a partnership. It's saying that we need always be divided. As I have Palestinian, half Israeli, it's something that bothers me, because the way that I live cannot be committed. Our BDS see the way of living.
Was it like an official statement from them that
I think it was an opinion column that they wrote, but they backed it.
But they said because Israelis and Palestinians, there's like no way to work together.
That's the subtext of it.
The subtext.
You can't, as a Jewish person, do anything to support Palestinian liberation, rights, freedom.
You can't.
Who is saying that?
That's like the subtext of... That's a subtext of calling to boycott a Jewish Palestinian organization.
So like BDS or something?
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
Okay.
So it leaves like no room for Israelis, Jewish Israelis, to support any solution instead of, I don't know, going away to some other place.
Yeah.
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 That's really harsh, but I mean, it's a pity. For you, it's really obvious that it's not a solution, because right now you are where you are. You have to find a solution and work together, but still this is somehow about this moral purity that you explicitly don't search for in activists or working together with other people.
Yeah.
Want to add something? Ask something else? No? Do you? Yeah?
What about, I remember there were a lot of Arabic Israelis, so Arab people with an Israeli passport back then, some out of the, when I was there, so a long time ago, Um, and so, how is it for them? Do you have like connections to them? Do they organize with you? Do they have their like of own organizations where they try something similar, anything like that?
So 20% of the population in Israel are Arabs. This entire conversation, when I referred to Palestinians, we are talking about Palestinians within Israeli borders. So Palestinians within Israeli citizenship, most of them, like Adam, and they are part of the movement. I mean, they are the movement, as you know. It's a Jewish-Palestinian movement, and definitely there are different relations to the Palestinian nationality, even within the movement, amongst its members. We have, a Bedouin member that organizes the Bedouin community in the Negev, which is an Arab community that doesn't necessarily always identify with the Palestinian identity. But what's very, very clear to him is that the same tools of oppression and of racism are used towards him and towards the Palestinians. And so in that way, he is very, very much part, and his voice is very much part of the movement. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, kind of. I do remember that also the Arabic Israelis, also the Arab people within the Israeli passport, like the Bedouins, they had, even back then, kind of a hard time. So it was never easy. And it was like in the beginning of the first Intifada.
I think the first Intifada there was a army like a security check in when after 48 people in the villages live under military rule, and only in 66 they got free, and always there are second-class citizen. What Ria talked about, like the organized crime, it's a symptom that happened of neglection of the Palestinian society in Israel for a long time. Like last year was 252 people died from organized crime. This year we are reaching 30 deaths, and this is the start of February, like a death every day. This is not something that was in the first Intifada. It's a systematic thing that the Israeli government tried to enroll in the environment. And that's what we also fighting to change. Like not only we want the Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza also to get free, but we want also to have real equality between the state of the Israeli that lives here. Like people in the city that we live in Haifa will have the same rights like Eliah and our child and a lot of people there they deserve it.
Yeah, was like, but they're not second-class citizens.
They are.
Right. Yeah, I know they are. They were also back then, so it didn't get better in any way, shape or form, obviously.
That's right.
Can you elaborate on this organized crime thing a little bit more? Because what can you give examples? What you're actually talking about?
So I think this is one of the most complex subjects I've had to protest about or be active about, because we are talking about Palestinian citizens of Israel saying, whether we like it or not that we are citizens of this country, we demand it to protect us. And we demand that the police do its job of protecting us. And that's a complicated message, as people who see police brutality and just in general over-policing as something that is super dangerous as well towards society. That the head of the police is Gängeviertel, one of the most extremist, has terror crimes in his repertoire, leading the police. So it's really there is like this complicated message. But I think that the message at the end of the day is, first of all, crime grows where communities are torn apart. And that is one thing we are seeing in the Arab towns in Israel. And the second is that if one person calls the police and the police comes, and another person calls the police and the police don't come, and the difference is because of the ethnicity of the person, then this is not a country that I want to live in. And it's not a country that I think many people want to live in. And our job as Standing Together is also to say that the organized crime situation where Arabs are killing Arabs, right, is a problem, is a systematic problem that affects Jews and Arabs. And it's one that Jews must go into the streets and must talk about and must demand policy change around.
Did, I think you mentioned it, did the Arabs affected starting this uprising and you joined them and supported them? Or did you see it and started your own campaign? Or in other words, do you search for your topics and then see or decide whatever you want to tackle or whatever campaign you want to do next? Because it's always difficult to come from like outside, like being Jewish, and then saying, well, the Palestinians have a problem, I will campaign now. How does it work? How do you decide in standing together what you do?
I think it's definitely a mix between like what comes from, you know, the ground up and from kind of the movement down. But the movement has been involved in this organized crime situation even years ago. In 2019, we were involved in protests, weekly protests in Al-Fahim, one of the Arab towns in Israel. And I think that with this kind of ceasefire in Gaza, I mean, we've seen, in general, it confused us, I think, as activists, because we achieved something that we were fighting for, but we weren't seeing a stop to the violence. And also we know the situation in Gaza is so dire and so tragic, and that not doing anything about it is also a problem. And we see the violence in the West Bank surging just with the ceasefire, with settler attacks on Palestinian farmers and villages. And then we see this increase in homicides in Palestinian towns, and I think that definitely it's complicated to decide what topics to talk about, but this was one that can't be ignored. And as I said, that it really disturbs people in the most personal way. And so we are also joining different protests that are going on, or different efforts that are going on. There was a strike, there was a like general protest led by the like the organization that the organization that kind of tries to contain all issues regarding the Arab minority within Israel. So we joined the protest, but on the other hand, there are many things that we are leading right now. A lot of solidarity visits and a lot of different like communal organizations. We are, I think, community organizing is what we do best, and it's what we have to give to this effort. It's not only to come and do a protest and leave, but it's like to come, develop leadership within communities, to give voice to people, and that's what we've been doing.
Have there been more people joining you since maybe this Big Brother thing, or I don't know, after some really super publicly, or some campaign that was effective?
Yeah, I mean, in general, the war has made our movement grow immensely. And we are a movement that are funded by its members. We have over 6,000 members, and it's grown a lot, and our team has grown a lot. We are almost 100 employees in different forms. Yeah, we're growing because people need it. Yeah.
Sorry, do you want to ask more about the?
No, I think other people should ask some questions. I
Well,
always
they
talk
can.
too much, so.
No. This is your chance to ask.
I came all the way from Haifa.
Yeah.
Okay. That's very nice. Well, I think about it. Good questions. I think
You don't have.
no.
You want to
No,
say
not
something? No. Do you want to add some? Oh, hello, Chris. You want to ask something?
Hallo.
You want to drink something?
Ja, ja.
Ah, okay.
Come here, it's warmer.
Mach doch nochmal rund, so makes this kind of...
No, you wanted to add something?
Yeah.
No? Yes?
finishing kind
Yeah,
of.
no, but in
Finishing kind of.
Sorry?
in the organizing crime,
Yeah.
I got you. Formalities.
yeah, and there is like also this. I think what also it's so much powerful in this movement of the protest of the Arab community that they asking for the Jewish people to join. It's something very very important because like I think 2 weeks ago we were in Sakhlin. It's also our village in Israel, and there was 50,000 Palestinians that protest. After that, after 2 weeks, a week and a half after that, they asked also for Jews to come to Tel Aviv, place that no, there's not a lot of Arabs living there, and ask them to join them in the protest. And about 40,000 people came to Bima Square to protest again for the end of the violence and of the organized crime. They called the government and the people to do their job, and that was so powerful being there and seeing it there.
I can imagine. So it doesn't happen too often that the Arabs are actively involving Jewish population.
Because usually people, the Arab community also are so neglected that they don't want to join because they say, what's the point? I want to live my life, like, to work. I don't want to get in trouble and with the government and all that. We also like in the way here, I got checked by the security of the airport because I'm a Palestinian. So
at the German airport?
German,
No, in the Tel Aviv. Okay.
Tel Aviv airport. So it's scary. It's scary to be involved politically. So when Palestinians rise up and get political, and they also ask people for the Jewish community to join them, it's a powerful statement for solidarity and partnership, and that's the way. That's I think the most powerful act of that protest was.
Thank you. It was really nice, actually, last word also, but I think it should be Eliah's chance to say, I don't know, something that you want to add. Did I forget to ask you something super important that you want to say?
I think I am really excited by the opportunity to speak to communities like this in Europe, and I see myself in them many times. Sometimes I don't know that if they see themselves in me, but I really think that we need to, if there's something that we can all kind of take from this conversation and in general from what I tried to bring about Standing Together, is like we need to be strategic. We need to be strategic about what's going on in Israel-Palestine, but also about what's going on in other places. And we need to sit and talk and decide how we are going to win, and to decide to do those actions. And even if those actions are different or not aesthetically pleasing or not exactly what we thought we would be doing, but those are the actions that we know will help us win, then that's what we need to do. And we don't have a lot of options. People's lives are depending on it. And it's not pretty, and it's not perfect, and it's messy. But that's what we need to do. And yeah, I think I'll stay here, and everyone could have drinks. And if anyone wants to have any kind of conversations or, bring topics up, I would love to talk. And we have here other experts also to talk. And thank you guys so much for the opportunity to have these kinds of conversations.
Thank you for coming all the way and talking to us. Thank you so much, Elia.